Oh,
Hello, everybody. All right, there we go. Hey, Rick, so how'd your weekend go?
all right. Don't mind me. I'm just getting everything set up
And
for my temporary setup here.
yeah, I saw you when you put your video up to show everybody your new setup there, your temporary setup. So, um,
Yeah,
anyway, just as a reminder to everybody who's in here, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more people in here to engage.
yeah.
Also, if any, obviously friendly people is what we want, obviously. Uh, Also, if anything we talk about tonight grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we will try to answer the questions to the best of our ability. So, since it's just the two of us, you want to go ahead and do your intro spiel. Introduce
I,
yourself, talk about any project you might be doing, share any links that you might want to share, all that.
I don't think I'm going to be sharing any links, but most people here know who I am. And for those that don't, I am Rick Piper. I am trying to create my own comic book company, well, I've done that, but I'm trying to get it more well known. And it is, of course, called Cost Comics, as my name says here. And yeah, if you want to go sub to it, build me up there, watch some videos so I can get my watch hours up. I would very much appreciate that. And hopefully, very soon, I will be making some more content, new content on a regular basis.
Once you get settled in and everything. Um, so is that a your over your right shoulder there? Is that a refrigerator?
Yes, it is.
So are you in the kitchen then? Is that where you have yourself set up?
Yeah, for now, this is where I have myself set up. Probably for hopefully a week or less. Um, then again, I'm not sure because it is. This is pretty good for when we're both on our computers. Although it's a little bit in the way too with how I've got it set up for doing things. So we have a possible other setup, but I'm not sure how that will work while I'm streaming on somebody's channel like this, and she's working on her computer. You know, my
Uh,
cousin that is.
yeah. Now is it an apartment you're sharing or a house?
It is an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment.
Oh,
It's
ouch!
it's
Ouch! That's going to be quite a tight fit.
yeah. I'm sleeping on the couch, so and it's not a huge couch either,
Hmm. So,
but it's a place with a roof over my head, and so that's good in and of itself at the moment.
yeah. All right. Well, let's see. So, what what have you been doing with yourself since you've been moving in? Because I know you're still also trying to. I know at some point, I don't know if you already started or not, but I know you said you were going to probably be trying to get like a job of
Yeah,
some, I don't know, part
yeah.
time.
A lot of this week, or last week technically now, was helping my cousin out, getting her uh, living room a little bit organized, just so the fact that I could be here and her, and um, probably a little bit more of her apartment organized. But um, I actually put out a couple resumes today through Indeed.com. So yeah, I went to church today. So um, got this set up, for something to do, and so the next week again is going to be, helping my cousin out whatever way. Hopefully, get a slightly better setup here,
Hmm.
and then so I can start putting out some more content, and then hopefully getting a job and putting out more resumes to various places. I've got to get my resume made up again. Um, so yeah, there's lots going on for me.
Hmm. Obviously, with you having to make the adjustments to this change in your life and all that.
Yeah, and that of course, yeah. Monday and Tuesday, basically, is when I moved my stuff out of my place, cleaned it up as best as I could in the time that I had, and started sleeping over here since Monday. So it's been basically a week of me sleeping here, and hopefully in the next less than a month I have a job, so I can.
Yeah, as long as you keep getting out there and getting your resume out there and all that.
Yeah,
Right? But hopefully, once you do get a job, it won't affect your streaming too much. I mean, I still obviously would. Well, I have you, I have you down for next Friday, obviously the 17th. So,
yeah,
uh,
and at this point, well, yeah, a week from Friday.
yeah, um,
To me, you say next Friday, I think of the Friday still coming, especially when it's like 5 days away.
right. Hmm. Well, this Friday, of course, I have metal on. We're gonna do, and then next Friday, the 17th, we'll be finishing up December of 1939 in terms of the historical comic retrospect. Then I'll be taking a week off there, and then in December we'll be starting up in January 1940. So, um,
Yeah,
oh, and just to give you a heads up, we'll be looking at Thrilling Comics Volume One, Issue One from Standard Comics. I'll of course send you the link that morning, or I'll send you the material, that week if you want to
yeah,
view it. So like that. So I know I forgot to do that with you last time. So
yeah.
ah,
It's no biggie. I know I actually requested you to do that, but unfortunately, I haven't done what I really wanted to with you requesting it. Is go over the material myself,
hmm,
which you know that's my bad.
yeah.
Hopefully
Well,
at some point I
yeah, and I get that you've been busy with other stuff. I can I can still keep sending it to you, and then you can do whatever you want with
yeah,
it. But, I've obviously been doing the same with Metal
metal.
because he wants the stuff ahead of time too. So I did get some good news. I got Diana Tomovich to commit to one of the days to co-host.
That's good.
It'll be in January. It'll be like January 12th, but still, Um,
Hey, that's
so,
not too bad.
well, if I can get her and or Chris back into the rotation, then that'd be nice too. Um,
Yeah.
so, let's see now. And good, I'm just
Hey, JR's in the chat.
yeah. All right. Hey,
Uh,
hail Lord Xenu and hail Princess Xena, our only true saviors. Hail Mike and Rick. Hey there, Jr. So, yeah. How are things with? Let's see. Yeah, I know I probably already answered. I don't know if you fully answered, but you got any like comic projects here? Because I know you Snow Trip, Canadian Shield.
yeah. Um.
Any of
Well,
those?
as some know, and I think I probably told you, about a month prior to me having to leave, so about a month ago, I accidentally dropped or got my hard drive, my external hard drive,
Oh
knocked
yeah,
over
that's
with
right. You
uh,
did
with
mention that.
with all my data. So right now I'm waiting till like a Black Friday to hopefully get a good deal on a external hard drive, and then I'm going to uh, rent I guess is the word, or I'm not sure what the quick word is. There's some programs online that you can use to recover data, and I'm going to hope that I can recover all my data from that. Um, but no matter which way, I have the script for the next few comics, and I'm going to try and I might pay somebody to do Canadian Shield #1, some starting in December, and I'm gonna probably hopefully by the end of December have a fun my comic up for it.
Hmm. All right. Um,
And that's it.
I'm just trying to check to see who else may be on, just see if people are on their way or not. 'Cause I was hoping RJ would join us, RJ Carter, to give his impressions on what we read this past Friday with Target Comics Volume 1, Number 1. So, uh, and I know Metal usually comes in a little late too because he's
Yeah,
usually
dinner.
or and taking his dog for a walk, which is why I'm. Granted, I know we can. I probably will. I do have a story available just in case we run out of stuff to talk about. But I'm trying to freebase it a little bit here before getting into that.
Yeah. Although maybe in about 3 minutes, because it's 12 after now, we might want to get into something.
Yeah,
That'd be
I probably will do that. Just actually one of the things I was thinking about because like with the setup I have on this TV here with with the Fire Stick and all that, and watching Tune In with me. I've been watching a lot of Popeye cartoons, obviously,
yeah.
and there was a stretch there from like the early '40s, well into the '70s, in which um, Jackson Beck, Jack Mercer, and May Quetzal, who were of course Bluto, Popeye, and Olive Oil respectively, had basically done those works. One of the things I was remembering that they're all within they're all between each other like 2 years apart from each other. Like overall, like 4 years. Like May Quetzal
Yeah.
was born in September of 1908. Jack Mercer is January of 1910, and then I think Jackson Beck was July of 1912. So they're all kind of like 2 years apart from each other. I was just realizing that
Yeah.
that was kind of an interesting thing. And Jackson Beck, of course, Jack Mercer, the longtime voice of Popeye, he had taken over for Billy Costello after Costello, basically left Fleischer Studios in
Yeah.
'35 over like some kind of payment. And then Quetzal had originally done Olive Oil, but then in '39, when Fleischer moved their studios to Florida, she had stepped away from the role because she wanted to focus on raising a family. And then so Margie Hines took over the role of Olive Oil for a while there, and from like '38 to '42, Margie Hines and Jack Mercer were married to one another. Um,
Uh,
and then Jackson Beck. Now granted, Jackson Beck, Bluto was one of the roles he was known for, but he also was a narrator on a number of cartoons and shorts as well. He was a narrator for the Superman shorts in the early '40s, 41 to 40, 43. I think a lot of people would
yeah.
remember him as, of course, the narrator in G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero. That series. He was a narrator in that. Also, of
Cool.
course, um, he also did a lot of work for Filmation as well. He was a narrator for like the Adventures of Superman animated series, um, for all those series that Filmation did. In fact, so
Yeah.
yeah, Jackson lived until age 92. May like 89, she was on the verge of her 90th birthday when she passed on, and then Jack
Wow.
Mercer. Passed away in 84, 74. So, yeah. So there's some interesting little tidbits, you're watching cartoons and stuff.
Yeah.
The Thursday, November 23rd should just be another Thursday for you because you guys have already had your Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We had it last month. But we do have Black Friday here. Thanks to you guys.
Hmm.
Probably not quite as bad as you guys. It's crazy,
Yeah.
but
Well, I'm not.
we
I'm
still
not a
have.
hero guy to begin with. I just get what I need, and I mean,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
anyway,
I
oh,
usually just get what I want or need. In this case, they're gonna have a good deal. Hold on. I'm just gonna. Somebody calling me. Yeah, I'll just
oh,
call
that
them
that
later tomorrow.
that that kind of reminds me too. So with your church, so moving in with your cousin here for the time being, is it closer to your church or further away
It
or not the same?
it actually is a little bit closer.
Okay,
So
that's at least a good piece of news then for you.
yeah, well, it's good but bad. It just means I have to walk less, and I'm trying to lose some weight. So walking less is not necessarily a good thing.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, what I have to walk. I have to walk everywhere too because of my. I have to walk everywhere too because of my eyesight because I can't get a license. So, but then I walk some
Yeah,
pretty good distances too. But
yeah,
yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so now we talked a little bit of talked about a little bit of stuff here and there. So why don't we look at something here then? Um,
yeah. Get in some
Now we're gonna
potatoes and stuff.
we're gonna actually this is gonna be a newer topic for me here that I'm gonna be in terms. This is not one of the things that I covered this past week.
Okay, that's good.
This is gonna be something a little bit newer because the last thing I covered during the past week here was was Bounding into Comics, the Wendy Lee article from Bounding into Comics, but we already talked a good chunk of that last week already. So,
Yeah.
all right. So this is a story that I thought would be interesting to cover. Metal's here, just in time. Metal. You're just in time as we just now decided to get into something here. Um, But before we do that, since you're here, you want to introduce yourself, talk about any projects you're doing, share any links. You know the drill, right?
No, I'm good.
And
You don't.
hello,
You don't
Meadow.
feel. Oh, what? Go ahead.
No, I'm good.
You don't feel like sharing any links right now.
Not at the moment, no.
All right.
He's
All
eating
right.
probably.
Are you eating right now?
No.
Uh,
You tired?
Strangely, yeah. I got a lot more sleep than normal, so that's probably why I'm tired.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. I could kind of tell you you kind of these little one-off answers. I can tell.
Yeah, no, I know.
that's not unusual for Metal.
The daylight saving didn't hit me because I always go to sleep after the switch anyway, but I ended up sleeping I don't know, 2 or 3 hours over schedule. I don't know why I slept that long.
Yeah, actually, I was fighting being tired a bit today too. I kind of well, normally I get my energy drink first and then eat a meal later. Today I switched up and did the meal first and did the energy drink later. So I was like, but anyways, so rather than going back over something that I went over during the past week, we're going to actually hit an article happened over the weekend here that I didn't get to yet because the last article that I did during the week here was the Wendy Lee article from Mounting into Comics, and we of course talked a lot about that last week, anyways. So just
Yeah.
again. just to give you an update on that. So, even though I did clear up some issues and figure out what all that was about. So, but anyway, so here's the article that I decided to kind of have as a kind of something to focus on for tonight. The Lord of the Rings creator J.R.R. Tolkien's life to be adapted into graphic novel biography in Tolkien, Lighting Up the Darkness. Article by John F. Trent, published November 3rd, which was this past Friday. So this one I
this
figured,
could be really good or this could be really bad.
So, Ablaze announced they will publish a new graphic novel biography, Tolkien, Lighting Up the Darkness, documenting the life of the Lord of the Rings creator, J.R.R. Tolkien. That's an interesting thing. They're going to do a biographical graphic novel. So how do those things usually work? Are those things usually sell well, or does it depend?
I think
It can vary.
I've seen a
Yeah.
few.
I know that's what's his name? Noah Van Sciver, Ethan's brother, mostly works in the biographical area of comics.
Yeah. I know I seen somebody quite a few years ago do Star Trek characters, or not characters, actors versions of stuff like that. You know, like it was only like a 32 page thing or whatever. I have like one for I think Michael Dorn and Nichelle Nichols in my collection. I think that's what I have. I know I have Nichelle, but I'm not sure about Michael. But I've seen stuff like that before. I don't know how well it did or not, but it's interesting to see at times. I'll say.
All right. So, anyways, getting back to the article here. Then.
Anyways, on with the article.
Yeah. According to a press release.
Unless anybody else has got something to say.
Oh. Metal, did you have something to say, or
No?
Rick? Rick, did you have something to say?
I think we're experiencing technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Hello?
Okay, I can hear you now. Everything okay?
Yeah. I guess either you guys went or I went. Probably me. Sorry about that.
Right, well, no problem. Anyways, let's get back to this. So, according to a press release, quote, the biography vividly explores the youth of John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, the author of the Lord of the and I've never seen that spelling of Reuel before, so I'm just guessing that's how it's pronounced. I guess that's why they say J.R.R. The author of the Lord of the Rings saga, and his traumatic experience of the battlefield of the First World War, which forged the imagination of his later literary works. Unquote.
Oh, it's usually pronounced Reuel,
Reuel?
which is one of the two names for the angel Reuel or Raguel, which is God shall pasture, is where the name comes from.
Would that be most people would pronounce Raphael?
I believe the name does come from that. Yes.
All right. Quote, Tolkien, Lighting Up the Darkness, also serves as a useful visual aid for educators teaching the works of Tolkien, unquote, it adds. Here's some of the artwork, I guess. Kind of a nice, interesting use of grays and and Brown's era.
Yeah, I'm just wondering where
It's
they're
pretty good
getting
for depicting war.
I wonder where they're going to get their source material on his life, or like comments during the war or whatever.
Hmm.
I mean, there's already a lot of biographical material on Tolkien's life.
Yeah. Oh, that I don't doubt. It was just, are they going to get it from a good source, or is somebody going to make it up? You know what I mean?
He'll
It's hard
probably
to
get it from
tell.
his estate. There's a lot of information you can get directly from the Tolkien estate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on with the article here. The official description states, quote, J.R.R. Tolkien was not always the old Oxford professor, pipe in the mouth, refining his extraordinary work, unquote. It continues, quote, in 1915, at age 23, so that would mean he must have been born in 1892, I'm guessing. He left for the front with his high school friends, whom he loved like brothers. They take part in the Battle of Somme, which will kill 450,000 people. The horror of war will brand his relationship to friendship, love, and creation, unquote. For the artwork there. The graphic novel is written by Willie Duraforg with art. I guess I forgot to put by or from Giancarlo Caracuzzo. It will be 112 pages in length and will retail for $16.99 as a hardcover. The book arrives on January 23rd, 2024.
I'm surprised it's only going to be 112 pages, unless there's going to be multiple volumes.
Do you plan on checking out Tolkien Lighting Up the Darkness when it arrives in January?
Possibly. That was a very small article.
Yeah, I mean, because there wasn't really much editorializing there. It's not like with some of the other articles we've done where
Yeah.
like when we were talking about Eric July, there was a lot to really work over.
Yeah. A lot of different people's statements from this different places. Usually Twitter.
Yeah, and even when we were talking about the whole the thing with Wendy Lee last week, now I covered the bounding into comics article on that this past week, and the interesting thing about that was that they did give a little bit more detail. So essentially what happened was they were trying to claim it was some kind of scheduling issue, but when Wendy did state that she would have wanted to do it, and they just kind of recast her because apparently they were claiming in the notes there that it was one of the ones they were going to have to replace because of a scheduling conflict. But
Yeah.
as I pointed out several times, I know when Yellow Flash was covering it last week, he was saying basically I think what they were trying to do is they were trying to cast it for diversity's sake, and that's how Oniri got it in the first place. And then basically the backlash of the fans forced them to recast Wendy as in the role, because basically it's one thing if you're replacing an actor who's not as well known or something like that, but trying to replace somebody like Wendy Lee,
Yeah.
who's got some more significant name recognition within the community, that's just not going to fly. That's not going to fly without some serious backlash. So, anyways, that was the one article that I saw that looking forward that I thought because looking back, as I said, the last one we did was that there wasn't really a lot I wanted to see that I wanted to cover, but we're hitting upon a slower news cycle too now, because like on the anime side of things, we're now in the middle of the fall season for anime, so that means that everything that's going to be the majority of the stuff that's going to be premiering on TV is already premiered.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I did see recently too, as I've been looking over the stuff from Adult Swim on Saturday night, or Toonami, not Adult Swim.
Did they finally give us a date for Uzumaki?
No, they haven't done that yet, but
Darn.
starting 6 days from now on the 11th, they're bringing back Demon Slayer. They're going to show, I guess, they're going to show the dubbed version of the Mugen Train arc finally. Let me see if I can pull that.
Uzumaki, the miniseries, is like the one thing that I've been looking forward to, and it just keeps
Yeah,
getting
they've been
delayed.
is it a miniseries or is it a movie? I heard
It's a miniseries. I think it's supposed to be like 4 episodes or something like that. But
is it based on a manga or is it more like an OVA?
yeah, it's Junji Ito's Uzumaki, which it did come out chapter by chapter as they often, but it was written to be like a almost like a graphic novel. So the best way to read it is all in one, getting like the tankobon. But you could it's like a single book basically. You can read through it in a sitting, and it's a horror. It's one of the classics.
Yeah, so I'll pull this up for you guys so you guys can see this as well. So this is the list of programming for Toonami coming up, and I don't know. I think from what I've seen, Toonami seems like it's dying out again because I haven't heard of a lot of new animes coming out aside from some of the stuff that's more being created here in the States. Even though I know there's a lot of stuff that they could probably try to grab onto that would still be going. I mean, I think they still have. I don't know if Black Clover was ever finished. That one, has been off the shelves, as it were, for a while. But so at least according to this, so this coming Saturday, the 11th, you're gonna have 2 episodes of Demon Slayer.
No, sorry, I can answer this to you too. Black Clover ended its Shonen Jump run this August because it's being moved to Jump Giga.
All right.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, the anime was still had quite a bit to go before it was finished. So I mean.
Oh yeah. It's there a lot of times when they move things over, right? Unless you're free, you feel free to make filler, and people get yelled at for filler more and more these days than they used to. When something goes on hiatus, sometimes they'll go on hiatus too. Like they'll plan it around so that the manga can stay ahead. But a lot of studios are just like, hey, we'll just do filler.
I just wasn't aware because, as far as I know, they still have quite a bit of material in the anime that's still within the manga. It's not filler.
No, I know that. What I'm explaining is sometimes the studio, depending on the studio that's doing it, will decide to halt production and stay at the same distance they have been from the manga.
Oh yeah.
It's not as common. It's getting more common because the audiences don't like filler, so they just kind of want to stay the same distance from the manga that they are. But especially Toei doesn't care about filler. Like they will just do it. They'll just keep making it, even if they know they're going to catch up. Even if they pass the manga, they'll just keep making filler because Toei doesn't care.
Yeah, because I haven't heard like when they're planning, if they're even bringing the anime back, because I think I don't know even though if they've shown some of the other episodes, even though they haven't brought the anime back to Toonami, but but like So here's the thing here, and I think they have a couple of announcements, that you can link to too here. So this Saturday they're gonna have 2 episodes of Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba, at 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific, as it were, and then Doctor Stone, One Piece, Naruto Shippuden, and then they brought IGPX back. Some kind of they redid it. I don't know what the actual. They redid it somehow, reanimated it or something like that. But
Is that a Mortal Grand Prix or?
yeah, I believe that's what it
Okay.
is. And then starting on the 18th, I guess that's going to go to the regular schedule. Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Doctor Stone, 2 episodes of One Piece, Naruto Shippuden, and then IGPX. So yeah, I can go over. Let's see, 258 and 259 here. Here are the so according to their so for this, let's see, lineup updates, and I guess they're starting the Mugen Train arc, the dubbed Mugen Train arc here. So they're gonna have an hour special on the 11th there, and then have and then they're gonna start Doctor Stone season 3 part 2, and then have one episode each of One Piece, Naruto, and then remastered. That's a term I was looking for. Remastered.
I didn't even know they were remastering it because Immortal Grand Prix only ran for like 2 seasons, like back in 2000 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't either. I never got into watching it myself. So, but and then I guess and then starting on the 18th here, again they're gonna still and then go to at midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific, Demon Slayer, the Mugen Train arc, part 2, season 3 of Doctor Stone at 12:30, and then an hour of One Piece, Naruto Shippuden, and the IG. I think this is going to be the lineup for a while, but I haven't heard a whole lot of news on like you were mentioning too, the Uzumaki thing. They've been dragging that out too for some reason, and
Oh yeah, since like last year was when we got the announcement, and we still haven't gotten it, and it still
it was
says
long
it's supposed to
before
be
last.
2023.
They've been talking about it, I think, since at the very earliest 2021, if not 2020. It's been out.
No, I think the earliest was 2020, but last year is when they got the screenshots, and then earlier this year we got a full trailer, and then we haven't heard anything since then.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. So at least now it does seem like at least now they're bringing animes back to the line. Animes that are coming over from Japan. Now, granted, I'm a Shippuden fan as well. So, but they had shrunk they were running 4 hours, but now they're running 3. So, but now you got the Mugen Train arc coming, part 2 of season 3 of Doctor Stone, an hour of One Piece, Naruto Shippuden, and IGPX remastered. So, because they already finished up Assassination Classroom, they've already finished up Food Wars, and let's see. I know Mugen Train is being done out here in LA. I think that's coming out of Bang Zoom. Dr. Stone, that's being done out of Dallas. One Piece, of course, we know is Dallas. But like One Piece and Naruto Shippuden are only first run on One Piece and Naruto Shippuden. Those are only first run on Toonami here. These episodes have actually already been out for quite a while. They were already done, released on DVD and stuff like that.
Well, and they're always available through Funimation. I think now, because they're owned by the same company, that you watch them on Crunchyroll first if you want, but they're Funimation dubs.
Yeah, the Dallas dubs, Funimation dubs. Well, I mean, Yeah, I mean, it's Funimation even because it's fun because I think Funimation got absorbed into Crunchyroll, but
Well, what happened was Funimation was bought by Sony
mm-hmm,
back in like 2016 or something like that.
right.
And then Crunchyroll, which was owned by Warner under Rooster Teeth, was sold off to Sony. So they're technically still two different divisions, but from Sony's perspective, why do you need two companies both doing your streaming? So basically, Funimation still does the Funimation stuff, and you just go to Crunchyroll for all of the debuts and everything.
Okay, I see. So basically, the streaming service is Crunchyroll, but the studios, the dubbing studios, are still more or less the same. So it's
Yeah,
still a
pretty much,
Funimation.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the thing I liked about Food Wars being on Toonami as well was that it was nice to see something from the Houston group of voice actors, the ones coming out of like Seraphim Digital Sound and Sentai Film. Nice to see them getting some mainstream exposure.
I almost had a double take when you said Food Wars was on Toonami, but then I remember that Toonami is technically part of Adult Swim now. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well,
I
yeah.
remember when I was a kid, Toonami was part of the afternoon block when I got off of school. So even though it's
Well,
been part of Adult Swim
Toonami
for
is
a
now
long
a late
time,
night block, so they do have more. I mean, some of the stuff they've had in recent years include Food Wars, Assassination Classroom, Demon Slayer, Black Clover.
oh yeah, I know. I think it's been part of the late night block for like a decade now or whatever. It's just in my head. I always think of it as the afternoon block because that's what I grew up with.
Well, yeah. Well, essentially, when it came back, I think when Toonami came back in, I think it was 2012 or something like that. I'd have to go back and look, but when it came back after it had basically gone, when it came back, um, it became part of the nighttime block.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I think it was like shortly after I'd come back from college. But it doesn't matter how long it's been the nighttime block. Like I said, in my head, my reflex for Toonami is that it was the afternoon block because of when I grew up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do they
Well,
still have
they would
Tom?
they would also,
Is Tom
even
still
though
there?
it's now primarily a late night block. They've had they've had animes. They've had like night Cartoon Network had some nighttime anime blocks in the past. And I remember that's how I found Dot Hack Sign. There was a time there where Dot Hack Sign was on at like midnight. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah. For a long time, they've always had a late night block. Like Inuyasha used to
mhm,
air about 4 o'clock in the morning my time.
yeah. So um, let's see.
But do they still have Tom? Is Toonami Tom still there?
Yeah, he's still there. He's still there. And I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think Steve Bloom is still doing Tom's voice.
Cool.
Yeah,
Because it's not really Toonami without Tom.
yeah, yeah. I mean, again, I have I lately the only thing I've been watching on Toonami because it's the only thing I've been interested because is Naruto. I mean, I've watched One Piece, but I've watched One Piece elsewhere. I won't say any more than that. Um, but anyways, so yeah. So anyways, um, Rick, I know you've been sitting there just listening to us talk anime stuff. Have you watched any animes in a while, or anything you remember you
Uh,
want to?
the latest anime that I watched, it was dubbed. It was something called Phoenix. It was weird. Uh,
What was
I'm
it?
talking here, not to you. Uh, yeah, it was called Phoenix. I watched it on Tubi.
Hmm. Phoenix. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was called Phoenix. It was weird, a little weird. It's went over a whole bunch of different periods.
Well,
Not
I think I
real.
vaguely heard of Phoenix before, but I don't know if I've watched it. But there are some animes out there that are a little like surreal. You know, um,
Hinotori? Is it Tezuka's Phoenix? They made an adaptation of that?
I don't know whose it
Did
is.
it start in prehistoric time?
I wouldn't say prehistoric. Or I don't think so. Um,
do you know if it was
Because
a series or an O? Did they say if it was a series or an OVA, Rick?
well, I'm not sure. It had like 15 episodes.
15
was
episodes.
it about the actual immortal bird that it was named after?
Sort of, yes.
Okay.
There's different, like I said, different periods in history or whatever.
Yeah, because Phoenix or Hinotori was Osamu Tezuka's life work. He considered it like his magnum opus. It was 12 books,
Let's see whether I can
which is
find
like
it.
the same guy who brought us Astro Boy and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was definitely that drawing style, I would say. Let's see whether I can find it.
I'm just looking at it from one of my sources here, but
Oh yeah, apparently they did make an adaptation of that back in 2004. I never caught it. I have read the books though.
I don't even know how to spell Phoenix. Pho.
No, no, it's Phoe is the next one.
Okay, Nix, right?
Yes.
This says a 2007 dub, directed by Muto Tezuka.
Osamu Tezuka.
Osamu is the first name, and
Yes, Osamu
Tez.
Tezuka.
Yeah,
It's
the dub was done by Media Blasters, which would have been the guys out of New York, I believe.
I did not know they ever did an adaptation of that. That's cool. I'll have to check it out sometime.
I don't know if off the top of my head if I had ever seen it or not, but. Shit.
I just shared it on Twitter with you.
Okay.
Figured it was an easy way for you to see it a little.
Yeah, no, I see it. Yeah. Though I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll check the dub out.
Well, if they've got a
It
dub,
was in
they've got
the.
a.
Well, because it was in the mid 2000s, which was a really good time for dubbing, where the acting skill and translation skills have gotten better for the companies, but also they weren't going around changing that many things back in the aughts.
Right.
Now
I mean,
is not necessarily that great of a time.
localize it for it to make sense to people. Like in terms of I do remember that I have the Yu Yu Hakusho DVD box set, right? And one of the things that was mentioned in some of their notes was like, for example, I guess in the original Japanese, they made mention of a Japanese cyclist that nobody in America would have known about, and so
Yeah.
they changed that up. They changed some of the references, and of course back in some of those dubs back then too, depending upon what show it was, they would they would actually be talking about you know they would actually be talking about I'm trying to think here how they would change some of the name how they change the Japanese names to English names.
Yeah, that because I'm not against localization. I think there is a very good value in localization. There's certain steps that I think are a bit too far. I like it when they keep the names for characters, unless they're writing about a foreign area. Like if they're doing an anime that was based off of a manga that's supposed to be in Europe, and
Uh-huh.
all the names were like a Romanji type version where it's the way a Japanese person would say the European name, then change it to just the European name, right? If it's supposed to be Cecil, don't make it Cicero, just change it back to Cecil or something like that. But the further step is what they do now, where it's not even localization; they just kind of like straight up change the context of something, and I think that's way too far.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully, with you seeing that, you can tell whether it's the one that were thinking it might have been.
Oh no, just from the image, the preview image, I can already tell because that's the way it's drawn on the cover.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because there's not really a linear progression in the story. There's like I don't know, four or
Well,
five
because it follows the
stories.
life of and the like basically the reincarnation of this immortal phoenix. That was the
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I might have seen it before, but it's been like a long time since I'd actually seen it, so didn't ring a bell. I'm trying to look through some of my sources here, see if but I don't
yeah.
think.
But it was there. It was a dub one, Hopefully, when I get my place in, hopefully I can get a place in 3 or 4 months. Get a job and get. I've got a whole bunch of a variety of animes that are dubbed that I have saved to Tubi that maybe I can get to watch because I know a lot of people say you should go sub more than dub, but I can't read that fast, and I don't want to
Yeah,
bounce
and
my
I
way out of
can't either. Yeah, a lot of people. The reason a lot of people say you should probably do the sub more because then you don't have some of the editorializing that you get, like like um like I
here.
know I don't remember. Let's see. There was this one translator, Katrina Leonidakis, who I think she works. She actually works for Sentai Filmworks. She's got a lot of criticism over the past couple of years
Oh
for
yeah, yeah.
some of the translations she's done because she's just gone like full on content. She's really on. I know that Vera Dark has like really taken her to task on that.
Yeah, it's a problem, and honestly, I'm not critical of people who prefer sub or dub, right? For whatever reason, I know a lot of people either can't read that fast or just don't want to read that fast. That's fine, especially for like what you just said. A lot of the people who do the subs, like Crunchyroll, has their own sub, or even like usually Netflix sources their sub from somebody else, but like Funimations have their own sub too. And it's like, well, they're the same people who are basically translating for the dub are the ones who are doing the sub translation before it even hits dub. So you're just going to get the same stuff pretty much.
Right.
Typically, when something's new, I don't want to wait. That's why I end up reading subs. I'm just impatient. Like I want to watch it now. I don't want to wait for it to get dubbed. But I will still probably usually go find a fan sub in a less than reputable direction because those people are pretty anal about just translating things directly, even if it doesn't make sense. So if you want something that's completely unlocalized or non-localized, you would have to go and get some illicit fan subs.
Well, it's kind of funny because outside, of course, of the North American dub scene, Canada and the States here, right? In terms of the English dubbing. Now I know why some people. I know people. There have been some who've been very critical of the English dubbers in the Southeast Asian areas, like Singapore, Philippines. There have been a number of companies down there that have dubbed some animes over the years. But I personally, in some respects, I kind of like theirs a little better because sometimes it's at least when you compare it to the North American dubs, English dubs, even if it's a little bit more directly translated, and some people say sometimes forced in some certain situations. To me, it seems like a fresher take than sometimes you get. I like the dubs were obviously better back in the aughts and early tens. The dubs today have to be wary depending upon what company's dubbing them and what company's distributing the anime, because are they going to throw in some woke baloney? It's like I actually on the one hand, I there's a part of me that wants to see, for example, Dragon Maid. But then, considering what I've heard about the dub and what they've done to the dub, I'm a little wary of whether or not I really want to watch it.
Oh, you don't like Gamergate references in your anime?
If I had watched it before this whole thing with all these gates and stuff, Gamergate, Comicsgate, Anime Gate, I probably wouldn't have even known what they were talking about. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But that one I remember specifically had a scene where they mentioned Gamergate and called them
actually, that wasn't Dragon Maid though. That was Prison School, I believe.
No, I think they both did.
Yeah. Well, I know Prison School was the one that really got the big stink. And it was Jamie Markey, who I think was said to have done the translating there. She was the director on that got that thrown in there. So yeah, but yeah, I'm just I'm glad that there are some things even in the older dubs I don't particularly care for, like the use of the word. Like I know Justin Cook used the word retard in Yu Hakusho a few times. Not a big fan of the use of that word in the way most people use it. And you can
Well, it was the 90s.
Huh?
I said, well, it was the 90s.
Yeah, so, anyways, so let's see where we. So yeah, we're at 58. So we've been talking about that for quite a while. Let me see if maybe there's something over on Bleeding Fool that we can see if there's something there. Maybe we can look at.
Sounds good. We unfortunately have not had any comments from the Peanut Gallery, meaning the chat.
I think it's more or less because we've been talking more about anime than comics. That's probably why. And I think
Well, anime is just animation or mangas, comics, Japanese comics, and usually a lot of times the chat is into that. So
Oh, this was an interest. I think I did actually cover this article from Bleeding Fool the other day. This one I think is a bit interesting. Might spark a little more conversation here. So bring it up. Why the failing American comic industry elevated Comicsgate. Article by Chris Braley back on November 1st. And I remember RJ, making talking about this. You see that shirt right there?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
It was a Mockingbird, right?
I
I
guess.
think so.
It was back when they were trying to have her date Peter Parker.
Yeah, Peter Parker's probably dated all the major girls in Marvel.
Yeah, but I'm talking about this was
Yeah.
what 2017-ish, and it would have been around when they were having MJ dating like Tony Stark or whatever, and Peter was living in that apartment by himself, and I think they were trying to hook him up with Mockingbird.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, let's look at. I guess we'll take a look at this article. See what you guys have to say about this. So, Valerie D'Orazio, a former editor and writer at both Marvel and DC Comics, tweeted a detailed thread recently dealing with the fan movement known as Comicsgate and its relationship with the mainstream comic industry and media. D'Orazio contends that Comicsgate is portrayed as a convenient scapegoat for the failing comic book industry to avoid addressing internal problems plaguing the industry. You guys have any comments on that statement thus far?
I think it's semi-true, actually. They want to blame Comicsgate, but Comicsgate is more a result of the failing industry.
Yeah. On her social media, she suggested that the idea of using Comicsgate as a means to cancel and discredit older, established comic creators has become the go-to approach for them because the concepts of meritocracy and competition in the industry is verboten. Mel, you have anything to say on this thus far?
Yeah, more so of the next paragraph, because the quote has everything to do with what was just said.
Okay. Quote, it's like if Comicsgate didn't exist, unquote, D'Orazio wrote. Quote, the mainstream comics industry slash media would have had to invent them because CG was the in stars here perfect scapegoat to use to hide from all their own sins. They never really had to publicly face their internal problems again. And if they sacrificed the careers of a bunch of older established comic creators in the process, who cares, right? Yeah, let's get those old fogies, let's get those old cisgender white males and
Yeah.
get out of the way because they don't mean anything anymore. They're just a bunch of old fogies who wanna tell us what to do and all that.
Yeah, and so this is where I think, because a lot of people like to put Comicsgate and Gamergate together, and I think this is where the big difference was, right? Because while both of them were consumer movements, Gamergate became a boogeyman for the people that it was up against, like the journalists and some of those hyper feminists in gaming, only because of the stuff they were doing, right? Like it was a war. Comicsgate, I do believe it would have been invented even if the consumer movement never happened, right? Like it was the perfect outlet for them to try to get rid of people they already wanted to get rid of, and for them to not have to deal with their own failures.
Yeah. Well, here's the funny thing I noticed too. It's like because it seems to happen across many a medium because you get now see if you can find the common thread here, right? You got Gamergate, then you got Comicsgate, and then you got AnimeGate. You guys see where the common thread there is?
The gate for possibly gatekeeping. Now,
Yeah, I mean,
No,
I
that's
find
not what
it
the gate means at
interesting
all.
that it just seems that that term gets attached onto this stuff whenever there's anything controversial about it. But and yes, I see Jr. was trying to say something here, so we'll acknowledge what he's saying here. So my video viewing group has temporarily stopped watching Van Helsing to binge 6 seasons of Vikings more quickly, so we stopped watching anime.
Yeah. No, so the gate just means controversy. It comes from the term Watergate of the Watergate Hotel.
There's
that's
that
all it
too.
is,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I get that, but I mean, I find it.
No, I'm just letting Rick know that.
That's become a suffix now, meaning controversial, or I guess some people would say it has to do with gatekeeping or whatever, but
Yeah,
I
I figured that quite some time ago. I just figured, some people would think it because there was a lot of talk around the time about gatekeeping. Out certain people in.
Oh no, that is true, but that's completely coincidental to the name, right?
Yeah,
because gate's been used for controversy. Not immediately after Watergate. I think it was a few years after, but even as of 5 years after the whole Watergate scandal, people were already using gate for other controversies, and it's been like that since.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny how they were trying to gatekeep some of these older, more established comic book veterans, like EBS, like Chuck Dixon, like Mike Barron, like John Malin, like Gabe Elford, and these people have gone on and have had a pretty good successful run beyond the scope of the mainstream comic.
See, I thought what you were going to say when they all had in common is that they were basically different facets of the same subculture, which
that's another point too. That's another point. But
I
was just getting to the fact they just seem to just tag on the gate suffix there for it, and that's what I was pointing.
Yeah, so in Greater China and the rest of East Asia, there is an acronym that's used for this subculture. The original was ACG, though recently N has been put on there too, ACGN, which stands for Animation, Comics, Games, and Novels, right? And usually they're talking about light novels and stuff, but it's kind of just one subculture. Animation, Comics, Games, Novels. It's ACGN. And pretty much every part of that's been hit, except so much the novel. But let's be real, the novel part, they're never going to hit because it's such a looser industry that's already kind of dominated by YA anyway, that you will never really have a controversy there. It's affected by these other three ones separately anyway. You don't need a direct controversy for novels.
All right, so let's get back to the article then.
Yeah, because they're not quite as small a niche as the games, anime.
Yeah, and the type of novels that fall in this culture are the ones that are covering the same material that you would find in these animation comics and games, right? So light novels are the ones people mostly talk about. Well, a light novel is kind of just like a manga almost, but it's similar to a pulp where you'll have a bunch of words novelized on one page, and then the other page might be an image, or it might be a comic or something for that page, and they'll go back to the novelization. So it's it's just in the same general category as it is.
Yeah. JR says YA has had years of gaining. I think that's
gating.
Gating.
Yeah, YA, especially here in the West, not so much in the East, but in the West, it has been a trough for pigs for quite a while.
A trough for pigs. That's an interesting analogy.
And by YA, I take it mean young adults.
Yeah. The problem, too, is that young adult shouldn't be a genre. It should be a, demographic. a rating, but here in the West, YA is basically a genre, and it's kind of that urban fantasy that you're used to, and it's because of publishing companies. That's the only stuff they want to sell.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, let's get back to the article then. She continues, quote, and the funny thing is, about 17 years ago, both Rich Johnston, and as I understand it, Rich Johnston's the guy who heads up Bleeding Cool, not to be
Yes, he
confused,
is the Bleeding Cool guy.
and Heidi MacDonald went out of their way to use, in parentheses here, to use me as a quote-unquote symbol of how a person is victimized in the comic book industry. Yeah, that's a funny thing. And you see this sometimes when people like try to make it look like a person's a victim, and that supposed victim comes out and says, "You people smoking something because that's not true." That reminded me of a situation that happened with Vic Mignogna during his like when people were people were claiming in a film he was being inappropriate with a girl, and the girl came out and said, "No, that's not what happened," and so.
You know, it's really funny too. Especially 17 years ago or whatever, I could see this being who Rich is. Recently, Rich has been talking about like the failures of the Western comic book industry, and I think it's because he's an outside inside man, right? Like he's the type of guy who wants to suck up to the industry. That he is an insider, but he's still on the outside, so he could capitalize on the successes, but he can also capitalize on the failures of the industry.
JR's got a couple things here. He says the Asian American girl who self-canceled her own YA novel that included slaves because the slaves were not black but Asian factory workers. There was a mass hiring of YA sensitivity readers and YA novel purges of anything that didn't reflect current American politics.
Oh yeah, well this even goes back before even Gamergate. For YA, this stuff goes back to the late aughts, and one of the reasons is because novels are a much broader medium, right? There are novels for every age group, every genre, and YA was hit first before everything else due to the demographics they were trying to hit. And nobody pays attention to it, which is why it was the first one hit. That and board games. People also don't pay attention to board games. Both of those were getting hit way earlier than everything else, and just nobody paid it any mind. But yeah, no. YA in American publishing, unless you're self-published, is complete garbage now. It's not even really worth getting into.
I mean, just so we understand what. So why is it garbage? What is it that they put in there that makes it garbage? Just so we know. Just so we know.
So one, and I don't know if you know how publishing companies work. So that's actually the main trade I was getting into is publishing. I kind of know how they work more than the average person. But you think you can go to a published company and bring your novel, your manuscript, and you think it's going to be perfectly fine, and they're just going to maybe do some minor edits and publish your book. But what really happens, especially with these sensitivity readers that were brought in, but it's been happening with editors before that, is they comb through your book and they decide what will and will not stay because they decide what will and will not sell, right? In the modern day, because of these sensitivity readers, they will go through and they'll be like, you have to basically change this entire section of your book because it just does not fit the standards that we're going to. And the modern standards do fall into that kind of social justice type of crowd that you've gotten used to over the years.
So basically, the YA genre was hit by the SJW woke crowd long before we even were calling them SJW woke. Is that basically?
Yeah, it was around the earlier Obama era is when they started getting hit with it.
Well, you know what they
really,
say, right?
That's really a bummer.
All right. So, anyways, let's continue on with the article then.
That's why you always self-publish.
Yeah.
Because honestly, very few novels end up selling a lot anyway. Most people under a publishing company are lucky to sell 20 copies of their book, right? You might as well self-publish anyway because you're probably still only going to sell 20 copies of your book.
But at least you'll be the one who has creative control.
Yes.
All right. So they presented themselves as fearless truth tellers, but who are the truth tellers of the industry now? Not them, not really. In the tweet, now I think there was some kind of there's been some kind of typos here because I think it was initially spelled D apostrophe there or whatever that A-R.
Yeah, it was originally D Orazio. Now it says D Orazio instead. Which it's supposed to be da, not like a D, like da Orazio or.
Well, I don't know because her Twitter right there. You see her Twitter right there.
Yeah, the Valley D.
Yeah. Well, you look above that. It actually does have the D-O, not the D-A.
Yeah, I think that's her actual name. The A was probably the typo earlier.
Okay. Yeah,
I don't think she would make a typo about her own name.
Yeah. I doubt anybody would, but you never know. So,
or at least not for long. Anyways, on with the article.
In the tweet thread, Dorazio took Heidi McDonald, editor-in-chief of The Beast, to task over her alleged support for women in comics while demonstrating conflicting and confusing responses, particularly when women have concerns about Heidi's own friends in the comic book industry. So even before reading this, I had no idea and I still don't exactly completely know. You guys have any idea what this is all about? What they're talking about?
Why this happened? I remember this thread of her starting maybe even a few weeks ago because I saw a bunch of people retweeting it. And part of it was like a bunch of people trying to say, oh, look, some of the people in the industry are finally on the side of Comicsgate. Some are like, you shouldn't trust these people who are only speaking out now that it's convenient of it. But I remember seeing Valley D's thread a while back. This isn't that new, but maybe more stuff has been added on over time to make it more recent. But it was talking about basically, I think she got ousted finally. And there's a bunch of people who were never really cool with what was going on inside of the industry. And they were just kind of keeping quiet and playing ball because it was their job. But then like there's one step too far and then they get outed themselves. And they're like, whatever, I'm going to start revealing things and taking things down with me.
Well, I'm more referring to the Heidi McDonald angle here, but we'll read this next article or next paragraph here and see it. So, quote, Heidi McDonald, fearless defender of feminism, scourge of misogyny, seemed to have had a history of dismissing harassment accusations against her male friends and associates. I can back up and start here 2 specific cases of her doing this. In parentheses here, I have heard of more, one from painful personal experience, and one as it relates to accusations against Dean Haspiel, including a screenshot somebody sent me of her condescendingly dismissing a woman's claims. She can defend anyone she wants, protect anyone she wants, but then turning around and publicly trashing in start here other people in the industry for this alleged misogynistic behavior. So, Metal, you're more into the Twitterverse. You have any idea what all this is?
I don't know that much about Heidi. Though JR brought something up. He said Heidi trashed women who were Warren Ellis groupies 10 years ago, and 1 year ago covered hoes wanting reparations. So I believe JR's telling the truth. I just personally have a hard time believing Warren Ellis ever had groupies, but I guess that's true. I don't know why anybody would
Everybody
like Warren
has
Ellis
some
that
sort
much.
of. Everybody has a few groupies, right?
I don't know, man. It's like I don't get it. I don't get how somebody can like Warren Ellis that much. But apparently he had groupies. So
Well, everybody. I guess everybody somewhere has fans. Some more than others, obviously, but But
But
anyway,
yeah, no, I've seen stuff with Valley D. I haven't seen too much about the Heidi McDonald stuff personally. But what little I've seen is when Azario had been talking about it, but I don't really know much about Heidi.
you don't know as much
in
about
general.
the background of it or anything.
Yeah.
So she then turned her ire towards Bleeding Cool's editor-in-chief, Rich Johnston. Quote, as for Rich Johnston, a person people in double stars here continually tried to tell me not to trust from day one, I'm going to be as charitable as I can here. The impression I got from him was that when you've done the comics journalism gossip stuff for as in stars here long as he has, things get really in stars really complicated. There's a lot of in quotes here checkmate. I'm leaving it at that.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. Like I said with Rich, he's an insider outsider, right? Where he's an outsider who has those inside connections, but he would just as soon profit off of people's successes as he would off of their failures, right? He doesn't really have a side. He has his side. Because that's all gossip columns and tabloids and stuff are at the end of the day. And Bleeding Cool has always just been a comic tabloid, no matter how much he tries to say otherwise. It's a rumor mill. So yeah, that's definitely not somebody you should ever trust.
Yeah.
Well,
JR says,
it's kind of funny because I've tried to look at articles on Bleeding Cool before, and I just for me, I just don't like the format for some reason.
Yeah, I actually have had an article on Bleeding Cool. Was back when I was trying to kickstart a comic before any of the Comicsgate ones happened, and he was nice enough to give it to me, but he wouldn't let me really talk about the story, which is what you actually want to do with the cell. He wanted to talk about yourself and what comics mean to you. That's the type of stuff that we do here. It's like, okay, I'll do that. I don't know how this is going to help me sell my comic though.
Yeah, okay, so so Warren Ellis had a popular message board, and they would post and send lewds to try to boost their careers. I guess that he's talking about the groupies there. JR's talking about the groupies there. And then Kim Scott Benedict asking, "What's your favorite Squidbilly Dana Snyder?" I don't watch Squidbillies, so
yeah, I don't like Squidbillies. I like Dana Snyder as an actor; he's great, but I don't like Squidbillies.
I've never even heard of it.
It's an adult animated comedy on Adult Swim.
Oh, okay.
They're squids that are hillbillies. That's all you got to know about the show.
Yeah. JR saying then Heidi covered it with open contempt for the women posting lewds.
I mean, that part I don't blame her for. Now, being who she is, she probably did it more out of jealousy, envy, than anything. But still, I don't blame her for it.
Yeah. So, Kim Scott then asked, "What's your favorite Pompeii 1079?" I have no idea what that even is.
I think we've answered this question before.
Yeah, I know he's one of these guys that likes to come in and ask. It seems like he just likes to ask random questions. We'll try to answer them, but but anyways, And just as a friendly reminder to everybody, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, see if we get some more friendly people in here to engage. And as always, if anything grabs your attention, feel free to comment and/or ask questions. We'll try to answer the questions.
I'll give him a different answer to one of his questions. Instead of what's my favorite Squidbillies, I'll say what's my favorite Dana Snyder, and it would actually be the role of Todd from Code Monkeys.
Okay. So Dorazio suggests that canceling talented individuals could benefit those seeking job security or opportunities, and therefore the utility of Comicsgate for SJW, Social Justice Warriors, seeking to brand and cancel individuals or win arguments may simply be the strategy used to keep their jobs. I think we'd all agree that pretty much is what's kind of going on, huh?
Yeah.
And here we go with this guy. Despite mainstream comics claiming that Comicsgate is irrelevant and a dying consumer movement, they are also quick to jump on it as a way to brand their detractors to easily get them labeled for cancellation. As DC Comics writer Tim Sheridan recently tried to do in order to boost sales for his gay erotica fan fiction disguised as a Golden Age Green Lantern comic earlier this month. You guys know about this, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. And it, in his face, it's been an utter failure. It hasn't really sold anything at all.
Yeah, I know. Yellow Flash just had a field day roasting this guy because it's like the dude sat there, begged people to buy his comic. He sat there and begged people to buy his comic, right?
Yeah.
And it still didn't make any money. It didn't even make the top 50 on ICV to whatever that site is that tracks the comic sales.
Did it even make the top 100?
Probably
not.
The guy was sitting there begging people to buy it. Oh, please buy it so you can own Comicsgate.
Yeah, that was the sad part too, because I saw this tweet, which is funny. I don't go out of my way to look at any of these tweets ever, but when you're just mutually following a bunch of Comicsgate people, this stuff just ends up in your feed anyway. So I've seen all these tweets, and you look at it. This is not the way to sell a comic, right? He's just begging to buy it because it's queer. That's it. That's the only thing. And it's this. You're not even telling people what the comic's about. What's the cool stuff that happens in the comic or anything. You're not trying to sell it. You're just saying hey, support this because of ideology.
Well, according to Yellow Flash, the only thing about Tim Sheridan's comic here, it's the whole thing revolves around Alan Scott being blackmailed into gay sex with J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, there's nothing cool to.
And that is like Elseworld type thing, because if you are aware of Alan Scott's history, you know full well he was married twice. He had kids. It's so I mean it's utterly ridiculous. But let's see, 1079 was the hint. Metal should understand that. Pompeii 1079. Does that ring a bell to you, Metal?
Oh, I'm trying to think. Because I know last time you asked about Pompeii, it actually had the year that Pompeii happened, which was was it 66 or something like that? I'm trying to think. What does 1079 mean? It was 79 AD was the first one. So this would be 1,000 years after Pompeii happened. And I'd be like, I don't know. I'm not all here today.
Yeah, married men in the 1940s, obviously.
Or after Vesuvius happened. Pompeii's a place.
What's your favorite JB Blanc role? I think mine would be I can't remember the name, but it's he's one of Kakashi's summons. He's the bulldog pup summon of Kakashi. I just can't remember the name right now. Let's see. What's your favorite Urusei Yatsura 2022 moment? I haven't watched that yet. So.
I've got one. I love Urusei Yatsura because Rumiko Takahashi is probably my favorite comic creator. And in the current remaster, I'm trying to remember what episode it was. It was pretty early in. It might have been like the second or third episode. But there's a part where the handsome guy, the rival, comes to school, and he and Ataru are up on the roof, and he's about to like end him, right? And Lum is flying in, and she sees, her darling there. And as he's about to like challenge Ataru to a duel and throws his glove at him, Lum, who's coming in to like give him a hug, gets hit by the glove, and he's like, "Lum, he challenged you to a duel." And she's like, "Nani?" And then just like shocks him. It's like really fast, one of those just like wacky out of the blue moments, and I love it.
I was just reminded I forgot to do something here, so I'll be right back. So you guys talk to the California Tech. Well, yeah, so you guys can probably talk about California Tech is better voiceover work. So I guess he's asking which between California Tech, which are the better voice actors. I guess is what he's asking.
Oh, I mean, the problem is that there's so many who are so good, and there's some that are lackluster, that I think we'd have to be taking the average of it, right? Because I would say both of them have people who are in the top of their field, right? And if you're in California, obviously you have access to all of the voiceover work in LA in particular. I'd probably have to say on average, California just has access to more talent, so that's probably going to raise it up. But we have more individual studios here in Texas, like even in the same area. Maybe not some of the biggest ones, but we've got like, even next to me, there's like 5 or 6 different smaller studios that people go to. So I'm probably just going to edge it out to California, though. I would have a bias for my local area here in Texas.
Then I think he's like, "What's your favorite Digimon anime?" Well, I haven't seen them all, so I'll say the first one.
And I haven't watched
the first one's the best.
And
I'm more of a Pokemon fan myself, so.
Well, that was the question before that. What's your favorite Pokemon anime?
Oh, I didn't see that, but well, I mean, I like them all as well. So I mean, Pokemon, they pretty much play out the same story each and every time. So I don't know.
No. There are other ones. So my favorite Pokemon anime is Pokemon Origins, which was a 4-part miniseries that told the actual story of Pokemon Red and Blue from Red's perspective instead of the story of Ash, which is the main anime up until this last season, which was his last season.
I'll say Detective Pikachu.
I don't think that's an anime.
Oh, okay.
Urusei Yatsura season 2. So.
It should be coming.
Yeah.
It's supposed to happen. And I don't know when.
I might watch it 20. From what I understand, the 20. I guess the newer Urusei, is that one kind of a reboot or something like that? Or
yeah, it's barely different because it's supposed to just be for the anniversary. It's one of those things celebrating Rumiko Takahashi's work. But the original was spliced really weird, and it was long because they were trying to make basically a sitcom out of it. And the manga is undoubtedly very sitcom-y, but they were trying to stretch it out more episodes than it actually was.
I want to see the original dub of the original English dub of.
I mean, it is worth watching.
Urusei Yatsura, but there doesn't seem to be too many out there, I guess.
Yeah, and the new one hasn't been dubbed yet, so you're probably going to wait a little bit longer on that. At least I don't even think the first season's been dubbed. I haven't heard of it. But this one, it's kind of closer in like a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood kind of way, where they took like the 60 or so volumes and they're condensing it down to like exactly 48 episodes. So we got the first half already. We're getting the second half soon. And it's just gonna it's still very sitcom.
I mean,
The comic was written
actually
that way.
over the years they've done that with because you mentioned Full Metal Alchemist because they had the original anime and then
They do that with Hellsing as well, and they've done it a few different times with different things.
Yeah. I think they did it with Hunter x Hunter too, to a certain degree. Well, I think when they redid it in 2011, they added more of the arcs too. Like, because there was a 1999 Hunter x Hunter anime that went up through the Yorkview City arc, and then when they redid it in 2011, they continued the arc. They're like, well, they went up to Greed Island, but I think Greed Island was they made into like a special.
Yeah.
In the 99 version, and then 2011 they of course did all the arcs there. Well,
they're also doing that with Trigun, technically, right? Part of that too is at the time the Trigun was made, and why half of that series is basically filler is because the actual manga was short, and then it went to a different publisher, and that's where the whole Trigun Maxim happens. So the part that we've seen so far in the anime, where he's got like that weird haircut, is kind of like the prequel part to it. So he's going to go back to his normal look in the next part, but it's going to continue through all of Trigun now. There's been a lot of things that was like, maybe they just weren't done as well early on, or maybe they were done too early, and they're getting a proper revisit now.
Oh yeah, well, because I heard about that, when I was watching anime throughout the 2000s, where where you did see a lot of them, where like the first Naruto series, for example, that one had a lot of filler in it too, because they were running short on the as you were talking about earlier, they like to usually try to keep the manga quite a bit ahead of the anime. So.
Yeah. But then there's certain studios like Toei, Piro, and stuff where they just don't care. They just don't care if they're catching up. They'll just create filler, and they'll keep going.
All right. So Kim had said something. Let's see. Will there be any anime voice work in Massachusetts and New York, but skip everything around Philadelphia? Well, first off, I don't think there was any dub studios in Massachusetts or Philadelphia. New York is a known anime area, a known dub area. TPCI is based out of there, I believe. At one point, you had Central Park Media there.
Yeah.
You had let's see. I think Mike's Interna still operates an office for NYAB Post there. The New York area, of course, that's where Veronica Taylor, Rachel Lillis, Mark Dyerson, that's where they all originated from. I know Mark Thompson is still there in that area. Megan Hollingshead started out there as well. Some of the four of those five that I just mentioned just moved out to LA a couple of years ago. So, but that's where Pokemon has always been dubbed. Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of the 4Kids stuff was dubbed there. You had some stuff like Slayers, like Lisa Ortiz, I think is still there. So, but anyways,
you get basically. Not even only just sub, but just voice work in general. You get almost anywhere that there is already studio and equipment for it. So any place that TV and film is already done. That's why New York's got it. That's why Texas has it. That's why California over in LA has it. That's why Chicago's got studios, because they just already have all of the facilities there to pick it up in those areas. Georgia in Atlanta is starting to get kind of bigger again too, because a lot of movie and TV's doing there, so they just already have all the studios there to do that.
Well, I have heard, because I think the English dub crew for Virtua Fighter from back in the 90s there. They were actually based out of, I think, Eastern Carolina, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, so, but again, they're not as widely known as, like, I've talked about what I believe are the, like, 6 main dub capitals. Let's see. So Boston, and then he was asking, is the Wendy Lee situation over? As far as I know, I don't, basically they've recast her as Yoichi. I think Manairi is still going to be doing Hiyori. I don't know.
Yeah,
if
I think
there's
it was
gonna
pretty
be
much
more to
over
be said about
before
it
anybody
now.
was reporting on it.
What was that?
I said I think it was pretty much resolved before most people were even reporting on it. They were almost just reporting post hoc of a situation that happened.
Yeah. Because as I understood it, the whole thing was that when people heard she got replaced, that's when all the stink was happening, and then they they recast her. So yeah. Anyways, well, let's get back to the article then. Try to finish it up because we're at an hour 41 now. So let me just check something here. And just as a reminder to everybody, if you haven't already, if you can like and share the stream, then we get some more friendly people in here to engage. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we'll try to answer the questions to the best of. They want to just check something real quick here, see if I got any responses on something, and then I'll get back to the article here.
What were you doing? Awesome. I have a quick question. Any further on the Canadian Shield for editing? 3?
No, I've been pretty busy. I'll try to get to some today if I can, but I've been all over the place.
Yeah, I've got till probably the end of the month, anyways, before I touch that. So I just figured I'd ask.
All right. So back to the article here. Shane Davis, a comic book artist with 20 years of experience, who is very public about his support for Comicsgate, reflects on his experience and understanding of the comic book industry and the role of whisper networks, especially those who use Comicsgate as a boogeyman, to explain the failure of the American comics industry. In this video, he ponders the impact of Comicsgate on the industry at large and asks if Comicsgate is really a threat to mainstream comics, or does the mainstream just need a common enemy to point in order to keep their jobs? How would you guys respond to that question?
Yeah, they need an enemy to keep their jobs or trying to keep their jobs.
Metal?
I mean, having a boogeyman is a very powerful device. Like having some type of enemy that you can constantly blame things on is really, really good, not just for morale, but also covering your own butt. That's why gaming journalism won't let Gamergate die.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, back to the article here then. Some of this fallout may have encouraged former DC creator Sean Gordon Murphy to admit that Comicsgate is a response to the social justice cancer that has infected the mainstream comics industry. What do you guys have anything to say on that?
Yeah, partly. Yeah, I think it
I
is
would
a
kind of agree with
response.
that. I think that's the general consensus right there. Is that the Comicsgate is a response to the SJW garbage.
Well,
Yeah.
part of it is. So that's what it originally was. Then it's a response to those that are responding to by creating a new comic
Well,
empire.
the thing is that cancer is there, but I think all it did was it helped light up some problems already there, because it's not just the social justice stuff, right? There was also all kinds of horrible practices that were already happening in comics since like the late 80s, but it just ramped up over time. But like the fact that like everything's an event all the time and the events ruin the other comics because you have to read everything. The way that like every single comic has to have like a variant cover, and for a LCS to get a comic, they have to buy like 5 normal covers for every variant cover, sometimes even worse, up to like 10, depending on the place. Like there was all these other problems that were going on. And it was like the social justice stuff that actually finally brought them to the center.
Yeah. Well, well, I think what you were just saying there with about the events and all that. That's another thing that I know Yellow Flash has talked a lot about too. How a lot of those multi-issue events really drag stuff on. I mean, you look at the Hellfire Gala bit, right? In X-Men, the X-Men title.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's basically them at a dinner party for like 12 months.
No, like this actually all starts back with Secret Wars, right? And at least Secret Wars, there was a lot of stuff that happened during it. But there's also some like you could read 10 pages in a row where nothing happens in Secret Wars if you go back and read those comics. And that's what started the chain of just like, oh, we have to focus on these big events, was because of Secret Wars. So this stuff's been happening for a long time until you do get like, okay, well, now we still have to do these events, but these writers don't know how to write. So these people who just write everybody going out to eat every issue anyway is just going to spend 5 books of people eating at a gala.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too, because I know Yellow Flash mentioned that too. You have some of these books where the whole book seems to take place at a coffee shop where the characters, and I think he's talking more about the like lesbian characters or whatever, where they're just sitting at a coffee shop just talking the whole way through.
Yeah, they're trying to make the superhero books like the TV show Friends.
And that's because that's the people who's writing it, or people who weren't necessarily into comics when they were younger, and they used to watch stuff like the show Friends. They're just writing what they know, which is the worst writing advice anybody's ever given, was only write what you know. It's like, no, you start with what you know. But as a writer, you're supposed to talk to other people, get outside experiences. If you only ever wrote what you knew, you would be boring.
True.
All right. So, anyways, finishing up here, how do you think the Comicsgate movement has impacted the American comic book industry? Sound off in the comments below. Well, guys, how would you guys answer that? How do you guys think the Comicsgate has impacted the industry?
Not as much as they would like you to think.
I think it depends on how we define the industry, actually, right? If we're only talking about mainstream comics, I don't think we've affected anything other than shining a light on problems that were already there. But normies don't pay attention. They would be failing with or without Comicsgate being there. Now, I do think it's been positive to the industry because it has also shown a light on the indie side of it, and indie movements in comics are now stronger than they've been in decades. So that's been a positive effect.
Yeah.
All right. So we're now at an hour 48. So what I'm going to do, we're going to finish off these comments here, and then I think I'll get ready to do this weekend in each history, and we'll start to wrap things up. So, let's see what Kem Scott has to say here. Starting with this. What's your favorite Dipsy Doodles?
I have no idea what it is.
I have no idea what it is. Aren't FedEx and UPS ground supervisors gruff?
I have no idea.
I don't think so, but I haven't interacted with too many. Will there be anime dubbing in Calgary?
Hopefully.
Chances are probably, okay, from what I've seen in recent years, at least probably over the last, I'd say 5 or 6 years, a lot of the, and I know you're probably talking about Blue Water Studios, which is a subsidiary of Ocean Studios in Vancouver. A lot of those voice actors and actresses, they've been doing more Western animation stuff. They've been doing like stuff like, I think, like Toodles, I think, is one of the, or Todots or Tobots or whatever.
Yeah.
They've been
And then
doing
there's
more of
what
that. They've been doing more of that stuff, and the dubbing they've been doing. They instead of getting stuff to be dubbed in Calgary, they've been getting, like, I know, like, for example, with Gintama, or in World Trigger, they'll usually get called over to go over to Vancouver to record stuff for the Ocean Studios stuff, like World Trigger, like
yeah. Isn't there like some sort of dubbing stuff in the Toronto area too?
there was, like, I think that's where Nelvana is.
Because
Canada. Like, because
Toronto and even Hamilton is.
Nelvana and Deke, because I know that the Deke dub of Sailor Moon, the dub that got critiqued quite badly, the Deke dub, that was done in Toronto. There have been done.
Just Deke Studios in general. Their headquarters is in Toronto.
Yeah, and I was just that's something I'm going to say because there's a lot of stuff in this area. Toronto, Hamilton's getting I think a little bit too because I see a lot of
some of that crew include, like, Susan Roman. Well, I don't know if she's still active nowadays, but
yeah, and I see a lot of movies coming to Hamilton to film. I know that's not exactly the same as a studio, but
No, but like I said before, a lot of the places where you're going to see these studios are going to be areas where film and all that are already, because that's where all the actors are, and that's also where all the studios are. And while a recording studio is very different than where you would go for filming on a soundstage, a lot of the music industry is also centered around where film is. So, like here, we've got a lot of different recording studios because this is also like a music and movie area in Texas.
Yeah, I think some of the, now, granted, this is not anime, obviously, but I know a lot of the voice actors who were involved with the X-Men series in the 90s. Susan Roman being one of them, Lenore Zan, Cal Dodd, Cedric Smith, Catherine Disher, Allison Court. A lot of those actors and actresses are based out of Toronto.
yeah. Well,
And then, can you explain the new SG anime movie? If I knew what SG was.
Stargate?
Right.
Apparently not.
Yeah, but anyways, so
Steins Gate? Is SG Steins Gate? I know Steins Gate.
Well, okay, yeah, Steins Gate, yeah. I mean, but I think there is a new movie coming out with that, but not off the top of my head right now. But anyways, so today is Sunday, November the 5th. So we're going to go ahead and take a look back at this weekend in Meech history. So first off, we're going to head back to 2013, like 10 years yesterday. As on yesterday's date, 10 years ago, WWE held its Monday Night Raw event from the Bon Secours Wellness Arena in Greenville, North Carolina. The night saw, in the main event, Big Show defeat Randy Orton and the Shield in a 4-on-1 handicap match. Ava Marie and the Bella Twins defeated AJ Lee, Oksana, and Tamina Quill. The Usos defeated WMD. Let's see. Cody Rhodes, Goldust, and John Cena defeated Damian Sandow, the Real Americans. And that's pretty much the gist of what now is. So 10 years ago yesterday, WWE held its Monday Night Raw event from the Bon Secours Wellness Arena in South Carolina. Moving on to 8 years ago yesterday, and on yesterday's date, 8 years ago, the 20th issue of Angel and Faith Season 10 from Dark Horse went on sale on newsstands 8 years ago yesterday, back in 2015. Of course, this, I guess, is based on the characters Angel and Faith from the Buffy the Vampire. The story was A Little More Than Kin, Part 2, written by Victor Yischler. Will Conrad did the art, lettering done by Richard Starkings and Jimmy Baincourt, and then Michelle Madsen did the coloring. So,
Okay. That explains a lot. I've never heard of this comic because I know who Angel is from Buffy, and I'm like, he kind of does look like it.
Yeah, I've heard of it. They did. There's a few series that they did a comic version of the next
of the
season.
TV series, yeah.
Yeah, but also it's like a season whatever. Like Smallville did it as well. I think they did it for Buffy as well. And it's like I said, it was a trend for a while.
Now, on this date, 80 years ago, on today's date, November 5th, 80 years ago, this date, 80 years ago, the Walt Disney The Old Army game, a 1943 World War II cartoon starring Donald Duck, was produced by Walt Disney, was released on this date. So it saw that. So it was a wartime propaganda cartoon, basically. So on this date, 80 years ago today, the Walt Disney cartoon, The Old Army Game, starring Donald Duck, premiered in movie theaters on this date back 80 years ago, back in 1943.
I've seen this one. Donald Duck is my favorite of all of the Mickey Mouse and Friends crew. Donald Duck is my personal favorite.
All right, with all that being said, I thank everybody for being here. I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight.
Nothing else besides 80 years ago for today? Wow.
Nope. Did you guys want to do any quick outros, or shall we just wrap up?
Yeah, sure. I've got something to share.
And I'm good.
All right. Well,
just go subscribe to my channel.
Yeah, we'll be back here with Niche News tomorrow. Metal will be joining me this Friday.
And Metal's got something to share.
Oh, all right.
Yes, I did say I have something to share. So that link right there, as long as it is, you can just click on in the chat. It'd probably be easier if you're watching, is a link to a video on the X Dynamis Chaos YouTube channel. And it's the beginning of a playlist of all 8 pages of On Tour Mitch and Sandy short number 1, Larger Than Life. I finished the dub on that. So if you guys want to go and watch some of my friends play characters, it's fun. It's a fun little way to experience one of the comics I drew.
All right.
And hopefully sometime in the next couple of weeks, I will be starting to put up some newer content on my channel.
All right. So with that, Metal will be with me on Friday as well, as we'll be looking back to December of 1939. We'll be looking at some books that went on sale from Quality Comics on that date. So until tomorrow, bye.